Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to knit an I-cord. So this technique can be used for a lot of different applications. What I've used it for in a previous video is, for instance, we knit this stocking. This is the bulky knit stocking video. And then to hang my stocking, I knit an I-cord. This one's about 8 inches long and then I just seamed it to the inside of the stocking. So that's just one example of where you could use an I-cord. So the yarn I'm going to be using in this video is a medium weight yarn, and also known as a worsted weight yarn. And these worsted weight yarns typically recommend around a US size 8 knitting needle. But when you knit an I-cord, you want to use a needle size that's 1 or 2 sizes smaller than what you would typically use. And that's mainly because you want this to be fairly tightly knit so it doesn't stretch too far. So in that instance, we use a smaller knitting needle size. So here I have a size US 7 knitting needle. And when you knit these I-cords, you need to have the ability to basically switch the point from one side to the other. So we need either a double pointed needle or a circular knitting needle. So I'm going to be using a circular knitting needle. If you're using double pointed needles, you'll just want 2 double pointed needles and you can do this exact same technique. So to start off, I'm going to cast on 4 stitches. And depending on how thick or thin you want it, you can switch around the number of stitches you've cast on. So I would recommend, if this is your first time knitting one, just cast on, start with 3 or 4 stitches and see what it looks like and if you like that look. And you really can use any cast on method. It doesn't really matter if it's stretchy or a really fancy cast on, anything like that. So now I have my 4 stitches cast on. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knit all the way across these 4 stitches. Now, rather than turning my work, I'm just going to take these stitches and I'm going to slide them from this knitting needle all the way along the cord over to the other knitting needle again. And now I'm going to knit these 4 stitches again. But you can see the strange thing here is your working yarn is going to be coming out the left side over here. So we're essentially pulling this working yarn all the way over to knit through that first stitch. And I always try and pull that first stitch pretty tight. I'm going to knit these 4. And now again, I'm going to take these 4 stitches, slide them all the way along my cord over to the other side. So let me zoom out to show you. Here's my full cord. So I'm just going to hold on to these, slide them all the way over to the other side. So this cord's fairly long. You definitely don't need that long of a cord. Now, if instead you're doing the method with 2 double pointed needles, the steps are really similar. So again, I'm going to knit across the 4 stitches. And then all I have to do is slide these 4 stitches from the one point over to the other point. Now again, I'm going to knit across these 4 stitches. So at this point, you can see the cord forming. So on the front side, it just looks like regular knit stitches, but even though we have 4 stitches cast on, you really only see the 2. And that's because when we pull the yarn across at that beginning first stitch, we're basically turning this into a little tiny, kind of like a cylinder. So here's the 34 stitches back here. And then if you pull these apart, you can see those bars. So that's where on the first stitch, when we pull the working yarn over from this left-hand side to knit that first stitch, we're forming those little bars that go all the way up the back. And those really just stay hidden. You'll never actually see those once you have it on your work. But that is how you knit an I-cord. So I would just continue knitting across the 4 stitches, then sliding these 4 stitches all the way over the other knitting needle, knit the 4, slide them, and keep on going over and over again until the I-cord reaches whatever length that's required for you. And then once you do that, all you do is you cast off the 4 stitches and you weave in your ends. And that's all there is to it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.